Welcome to the True Wealth Investors Real Estate Podcast. Creative investing strategies to help you build true wealth. I'm your host, Chad Harris. Hey, welcome back, investor. I'm glad to have you back with me today. Good to see you. Excited for this discussion. So today's thought is around the idea of what is an expense versus what is an investment. And been teaching a class at my church on financial literacy and how to be a good steward of what we've been blessed with. And so this concept comes up of any time money leaves your account, is it an expense, right? And a lot of times we may have that mentality with it. And especially as we get into different topics today or different things where places our money goes, whether that's an expense or an investment, it may challenge you with your thinking because it still challenges me sometimes. So in real estate, a real easy example is a down payment on a house. So let's just say for simple math, we're buying a $100,000 house. We need to put 20% down, so we spend $20,000 to purchase that asset. And in the end of the transaction, our bank account has $20,000 less than it did before. So is that an expense? Is that an investment? Really, what's the difference? So in this instance, our bank account goes down by $20,000, but on our balance sheet, our net worth in real estate has increased by $20,000 because we have this $100,000 house and we only owe $80,000 on it. Okay, so in essence, we have not spent money. We haven't lost that money. We have just transferred it from one asset, cash, sitting in a bank account, to another asset, real estate equity, where it's tied up in that property. Okay, so that's an investment. We are going to get, the reason it's an investment, we are going to get a better return on that 20,000 if it is in the property versus sitting in a bank account, right? We know if it's sitting in that bank account with inflation, it gets worth less. The value of that cash reduces every year. However, the value of that house over the long term will increase every year. And so the 20,000, when we take it from cash and put it into equity and real estate, it will increase every year. Okay, so in that example, it is not an expense, it's an investment. We are transferring that 20,000 just to another asset class. All right. What about a car or a boat or some other vehicle? Now, a lot of people look at their vehicles as an asset, but we know every year they drop in value. And if we have debt on that, then we're having a payment every month where it costs us money. It doesn't make us money every month. So in that instance, we look at that as an expense, right? So money is coming out of our account. It's going to something that still costs us money every month, even if we don't have debt on it, to maintain it and to use it. And that's even more true with a boat than a car. Car is somewhat necessary. Boats generally not necessary, even though I would love it to be sometimes, right? And so in that instance, we're taking money out of our bank account. It's no longer in one asset class of cash, and it's going to an expense, something that just uses money and doesn't provide us with any return. There'd be a couple of situations, specific situations, where that wouldn't necessarily be true. So if you're a contractor, then per that work, you need some kind of work vehicle, a truck or an enclosed van or something like that. If you're, let's say you're going to be an Uber driver, you need a vehicle. If you're going to deliver for Grubhub, something like that, there are instances where that vehicle is a part of delivering the service that your business is involved with. But in most instances, we're using that vehicle just for transportation. And we're using that boat just for fun, right? And so we want to make sure that the money, if we're truly investing it, we're putting it into something that will give us a return instead of putting it into something that diminishes in value and costs us money. That's the difference between the expense and the investment. Now, some other areas would be, what about a computer? What about a printer? What about a Bluetooth printer so you don't have to plug your computer in? What about a nicer phone with a better camera if you're taking pictures for listings, right? It really comes down to, is it going to make your business earn more money? And if it truly will bring in more money for the business, then it is an investment. You are getting return on that money. And in reality, a business can't function without a computer, without a phone, without a smartphone. You need certain things to run any business. But a lot of times, there really is a return on money for an improved thing that we purchase. And so, especially with rental properties, we can put property management software in that category. You can get management software that's really inexpensive. Maybe it's free. Maybe it's $30 a month. But it doesn't really give you the features, all the features that you need, and you end up having these little add-ons and additional services, and you still start spending more money for that property management. It's just not tied up in the one software. Where I believe more in purchasing larger software, subscribing to better software, paying more each month, but actually getting services that allow us to grow our business. So we only had maybe 30 properties when we first started using Appfolio. It was a major expense. It felt like at the time much more than we needed for 30 properties. But because we had that really good software and system already in place, we were able to grow to 80 much quicker, right? Much easier without staff. If I didn't have that software, I wouldn't have spent as much on software, but I would have spent more on staff and more money and time and headaches and everything else. So if it will actually give you a return on the money, that investment is worth it every time, right? I will never second guess investing money into Appfolio because it allowed us to grow our business. I'll never second guess investing into a good computer because probably 80% of my work right now is on the computer. So naturally, it gives me a return for the money I invested into it. Now, another category that people tend to get this all wrong, and I had really the wrong perspective when I started, was on courses, coaching, and a mastermind. A lot of people look at courses as an expense, that they hear a speaker, that speaker has taken their business and taken all the lessons they've learned and put it into a concise system so that years of their labor someone can purchase for, let's say, $1,000 or $1,200. Now, if you look at it as an expense, nobody generally wants to spend an extra $1,000 or $1,200 this month. But if you look at it as an investment, if you can buy somebody else's business system where they've made a lot of money and you only have to spend $1,000 to get that system, that is a great investment. Why would you not spend the $1,000 knowing you're going to get much more back in return, right? My course on private money generally costs $1,000. Well, $997 most times. But in reality, if you just close one loan with a private lender versus a traditional lender, you will save more than that in the origination fees. Just that alone. Okay. And so there is no expense. You're saving money if you actually use it and get the return from that investment. Okay. That's one example. What would be another one? Coaching. A lot of people struggle with spending money every month on coaching. But if you're truly getting a return from that coach, right? If your business is actually growing, if you are doing more deals, if you're making more money per deal, that is an investment that you're getting a return on. Me personally, I've spent a lot of money on coaching, and I've always gotten back much more than I ever spent. And so when I was able to benefit from the experiences of somebody who was further along than me, I was able to go much faster. I was able to grow much easier without the headaches and hurdles and wasting money and years' time. And so it's hard to even put a price on that time that you would lose trying to figure it out all on your own. And so I have never regretted any money I've spent on coaching. And mastermind's the same way. Now, mastermind, it's usually when comparing it to coaching, usually when you hire a coach, you're hiring them for a specific outcome, right? The first coach I hired, it was to learn how to develop a system for managing properties. I was managing my properties and my portfolio, but I wasn't good at building systems, and that was just driving me crazy. And so they were able to help me develop that specific system for managing our portfolio. Now, what I'd realized after hiring that first coach was that was the deliverable. That's what I really wanted. But the bigger benefit that I got was that I started to adopt his mindset. He had a much bigger portfolio. He'd been investing for longer. And the way he related to problems and issues was very different than the way I did. And as I started to adopt his mindset and his perspective on things, then I was able to be more successful and handle issues and overcome problems and obstacles much better because I had the mindset of someone further along in business. Okay. Mastermind, you don't have that specific deliverable generally. You are meeting with high level people, like minded people, and you generally don't have that specific deliverable where in 12 months I'm going to have one specific thing. But being around high level people and adopting that mindset and learning to see things the way others see it, that is massive value. And the further along I get in my business, the more I have realized that to get in a lot of rooms, if we want to always challenge ourselves and get in rooms where people are further than us, right? Which we all should do, then a lot of times those rooms we have to pay to get in the room. And when I was younger and earlier in my business, I thought that wasn't right and didn't make any sense. And now that I'm further along, I realize that that's just the way it is. And it is a natural part of business. We have to pay money to be in those rooms. And the more successful people get, the more valuable their time becomes. And they want to pay money to be in the room because then they know that that time will be well spent. Their time is their most valuable resource. And if they spend money to be in the group, they know that time is valued. So if you're struggling with, do I spend money on a course? Is it really worth it to hire a coach? Should I join a mastermind? How do I afford all of those things? When I first hired that first coach, I thought the expense was ridiculous. I couldn't afford it. And then after I had hired him, I realized the reason I couldn't afford it was because I wasn't operating my business correctly. And so I made much more money back than I ever spent on coaching with him. So if you're in that struggle, I would encourage you, find the right coach, right? Somebody that you know and trust. If you want to learn more about my coaching and what I do, reach out to me. I'm glad to schedule a strategy call where we can talk through and see if it would benefit you at all. If you're wrestling with private money and you want help with that, my course is available there, and I have a mastermind that I run. But you have to view them as an investment where you are going to spend money, but you're also going to get a return on your money. And that's through effort. It's not given to you, right? A coach can't do the work for you, but a coach can tell you exactly what to focus on and how to accomplish the task so that you do get that return. All right. So it's an important distinction. I hope that benefits you. Some things we have to spend money, but it's not truly an expense. If we're going to get a return on it, it's an investment. And if we're going to get a good return on it, it's a good investment. And we need to find more good investments, right? If you're wrestling with any of this and want to talk it through, see where your business is at, see what your obstacles are. You can schedule a call with me at truewealthinvestors.com. All right. Hope you have a great week. We'll see you next week. As always, keep building your dream life one door at a time. We are adding new episodes every week, so make sure and subscribe and check out all of our content at truewealthinvestors.com.